it is. It's black and yellow. I got something to talk about today. Here's a failure mode that nobody talks about until it's already happened. We got an agentic AI workflow that fires. It's running the right tool against the right data on a trigger that you configured 6 weeks ago, right? Everything is working as it was designed, except the data it's reading from is corrupted, so the trigger condition was met by accident. And the action is about to repeat itself 847 times before anyone notices. It's not a hypothetical. This is a documented failure pattern from production agentic deployments. Infinite loops, duplicate actions, hallucinated outputs, compounding on themselves at machine speed. So the problem isn't that AI agents are dangerous, it's that people building them are obsessed with capability and not containment. So every powerful system needs brakes, and here's how to build them. Autonomous agents amplify mistakes the same way they amplify correct actions, without judgment about which is happening, right? A bad prompt produces bad outputs at the rate of however many requests per minute you're running, and a corrupted data source gets processed at the same speed as a clean one. So a flawed trigger condition fires the wrong action as reliably as the right one. Episode 14, I walked through the GitHub Actions pipeline failure that cost me 36 hours of data. And it was a pretty passive failure, where the pipeline stopped running and I didn't even know. Agentic failures are active. The system keeps running, keeps executing, keeps writing data, and sending messages and making API calls, and the outputs are wrong in a way that isn't immediately visible. So the 3 failure modes I've seen documented repeatedly in production agentic systems is first, feedback loops, where agent A outputs data that triggers agent B, whose output triggers agent A again. There's no human in the loop. No exit condition was specified, and the loop runs until compute budget is exhausted or someone notices the output volume is abnormal. Second, we have hallucinated actions, where the model decides to take an action that wasn't explicitly authorized, like sending an email, modifying a record, calling an external API based on its inference about what you wanted rather than an explicit instruction, right? So that action may be exactly what you would have wanted, or it might not be. Either way, you didn't authorize it. Third, silent compounding, where each individual action looks correct, but the aggregate of 200 of them is catastrophically wrong. Rate limiting your agent's actions and reviewing outputs at the aggregate level, not the individual action level, is the only way to catch this before it compounds. A kill switch is not a limitation on capability at all. It's a governance layer that makes the capability deployable. Every production agentic system needs 5 things at minimum. Hard stop conditions, which are explicit rules that terminate execution regardless of what the model infers. If the agent has sent more than 20 emails in a session, stop it, right? Now 20 is just a placeholder value. If the cost counter exceeds $30, stop it. Another placeholder value. If the output deviates from the expected schema, stop it. These conditions don't require the model's agreement. They're programmatic exits that fire independently of what the model thinks it should do. And then approval gates for irreversible actions. So anything that can't be undone, which is sending external communications, writing to a production database, initiating a financial transaction, deleting data. It all requires human confirmation before execution. Not after it, but before. Remember, the model can generate the action. A human approves it. That's the single most important structural decision in an agentic workflow. Third, we have budget ceilings. You gotta set hard limits on compute spend, API calls, and action counts per session. Not soft targets. That's how a lot of companies have gone broke this year. Plenty instances of companies going broke, spending all of their money on compute, but these are billion-dollar companies that have the money, and the budget that they set for compute has gone haywire, and they've spent all of it. But we need hard ceilings enforced at the infrastructure level. So when the ceiling is hit, the execution pauses, and a human is notified. You need verifier agents, a lightweight model that inspects the primary agent's output before it's executed and flags anomalies. It's not perfect, but a verifier can be fooled by a sufficiently strategic primary agent. It catches the class of errors that come from obvious logic failures, like schema violations and out-of-distribution outputs, right? Lastly, we have human escalation paths. These are defined conditions under which the system automatically routes to a human for review rather than continuing autonomously. These aren't failure states, they're designed handoffs. The agent runs until it hits a condition that it's not authorized to handle alone, then it routes it to a person. So, most AI demos ignore production reality. The demo shows the agent working, right? It researches the topic, it formats the output, it sends the email, then it logs the result. It's clean and it's impressive. But the demo doesn't show what happens when the input data is malformed, right? When the email send fails halfway through a batch, when the API call rate limit is hit mid-execution, right? When the agent has been running for 6 hours and the context window is full and the model's outputs are degrading, happens all the time. For small operators running real business workflows, property management, real estate operations, back office automation, the failure mode isn't just annoying, it's a client relationship issue, right? It's a compliance exposure. It's a billing error that has to be reversed. It's an email that went to the wrong person. So the businesses I build for don't need an impressive demo. They need a system that behaves predictably when things go wrong. And in production, things will go wrong. Anthropic's computer use research is work that underpins how Claude interacts with real interfaces and takes action in real environments. Explicitly flags the failure modes of autonomous agents operating without approval gates. So the principle is any action taken in the real world should be minimal, reversible where possible, and gated by a human confirmation when it's not, right? When it's not reversible. That principle is the architecture for a kill switch. You got to build the brake first. You don't build a vehicle, go drive the vehicle, and then build the brakes later. You build the engine second. The engine without a brake isn't fast, it's dangerous, right? People hear guardrails and think limitation. That's the wrong framing. Real sovereignty isn't chaos. Real sovereignty is controlled behavior under pressure. So a Formula One car needs brakes precisely because it moves quick. AI is like a Formula One car. The brakes aren't a compromise on the car's capability. They're the engineering that make the capability usable on a track instead of a runway into a wall, right? The same principle applies to agentic AI. The more capable your agent becomes, the more important the constraints become. Not because you distrust the model, but because you're deploying in an environment where the consequences of errors are real, not simulated. Real money, real client relationships, real data. The kill switch isn't about the AI being dangerous in a science fiction sense. Forget about the science fiction shit. That's stupid. Forget about the hype. Forget about the AI taking over the world. That's not the issue with AI. It's not science fiction. It's about the basic production engineering principle that any system running without human supervision needs explicit failure modes and documented exit conditions. Every system, not just AI. Every system. The builders who win with agentic AI aren't the ones who build the most autonomous system. They're the ones who build the most reliably autonomous system. Don't forget about the word reliably. I don't know how many times I've said that in this video. I don't think I'm overusing it, but I don't think I could overuse the word reliably when it comes to AI. They're building reliable autonomous systems, right? The one where every action has a clear authorization path, where every failure has a loud alarm, play an alarm in the background. I don't think I'm going to edit that in, honestly. Fuck that. And every critical condition has a human in the loop, right? So, tonight, you run autonomous systems. You run agentic AI in the cloud, right? Audit one of your systems and ask, what actions should this agent never take automatically? Then add the approval gates, the rate limits, the audit logs, and fallback states that make those constraints real, especially around payments, external communications, deletions, compliance, workflows, client-facing actions. Your goal is not maximum automation. Your goal is reliable automation. So what's the first thing your AI should never be allowed to do without a human saying yes? Drop it in the comments. Let me know if I told you something in this video. I'm Kai from Bridgeport. This is the Sovereign Architect. As always, I'm going to see you next time. You know what it is.